haven't looked at my comic yet. All right, welcome to episode 173 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again this week, we have Rachel.
Hello.
Steven.
Hiya.
Chase.
G'day.
And not Chris. He just doesn't talk to us now.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy man, yeah. Oh, it has been a crazy week of travel and running around. My 2 weeks of constantly running across the country are finally over. Within a 5-day period, I was in 6 different states. So I'm good to be home.
Have you started playing the game, How Many States Can I Visit in 1 year?
I've covered a lot. I haven't done that. I should go back and look and see what I've done the most in a single year, but
he's going to be really good at GeoGuessr soon.
That's a good point.
I think it's easier at this point to go back and say, which states have I not made it into yet? Because it's getting to be a dwindling number. Alaska and Hawaii being 2 of them, which sucks. So
I would love to go to Hawaii.
We tried to, and then I think we caused COVID on accident. So we're going to hold off on our vacations to Hawaii so we don't kill the world. Because that's what happened last time.
Oh my God. Note to self, don't let Jeremy plan a Hawaiian vacation ever.
Almost me and Amanda, we were supposed to go for our 20th anniversary, and that just did not work out. All right, so beyond that, let's go ahead and jump into what we've been doing. So, Steven, we'll go ahead and start with you. What you been up to?
Well, I'm still playing Expedition 33 by Osmosis. I've had to feed Chris a couple of things because he wanted the joke is eventually you can learn HM06 Rock Smash. So I had to show him how to get that so he can get more perks. So that was fun. The game still constantly wants to amaze you, and especially with its music, where it just pulls it out of the ether. Just when you think, oh, it's just all going to be classical. No, not at all.
Oh yeah, sometimes it's got like rave type music.
It can get really funky.
I just God, what is the name of the people that have the paintbrush heads? Gestrels. I just got to their village and it's the funniest thing ever.
Huh.
All I'm gonna say is Eternity Breakdancing Man. He does not stop.
Did you find the meme Gestrel?
The what?
This will be something to look for because you'll laugh when you find it.
Okay.
But there's a Gestrel where his shop is on fire, and when you talk to him, he's just sitting on a chair saying, "This is fine."
Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to find that because I found the Gestrel that's at the theater type area where the guy is playing the guitar, and he starts to dance, and then he just doesn't stop. He never stops, and I'm just like, and it reminds me of the yo-yo master. He just keeps on yoing, but dancing. So, yeah.
Other than that, I've been playing Crime Scene Cleaner still. It's a different therapeutic type of power wash because you have to power wash, you have to mop, you have to body bag all the bodies, throw away all the broken stuff, and there's a lot of the secrets in there apparently too. So, you can just find hidden rooms in that game. So that's been pretty sweet. And then after those 2 games, I needed to rip and tear slowly in this game though. So I started playing Doom: The Dark Ages.
It gets faster. All right. Rachel, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I've been up to a lot, but also not a lot. Not a lot gaming wise, other than playing Expedition 33 on Friday nights and sometimes Sundays. I've been really enjoying that. The music is great. Sometimes I'll just find a place wherever I am. Like I just got through the Flying Waters and got to the Gestrel village, and the first thing I thought was if I got one of those little art posable figures that have the articulated fingers.
You just put a paintbrush on its head?
I'm going to put a paintbrush on its head, and I'm going to make my own Gestrel figure. That's what I'm going to do. I've already planned it out. But sometimes I'll see, like, I'll find a space and I'll really like the music and I'll just stand there and I'll want to stand there for like 15 minutes and just listen to the music because it's literally that good. But that's all I've been doing gaming wise. I've been watching more of my DVD and Blu-ray collection. I watched Galaxy Quest.
Classic.
Earlier this week. And then also Kung Fu Panda. So
also good.
Yeah, just something funny, something fun and light that wasn't like, super serious. So I'm just picking out a couple of movies to watch each week and enjoying that. And then today I had to get my car worked on at the dealership. Some things you can get done at normal, oil change places or places nearby, but some things you should really get done at the dealership. That's just how cars work. And so that's where the dealership where I bought the car is, because I don't like the Hyundai dealership here. They're not very smart. And so I went over to DeLand and I was like, well, since I'm here, I'm going to do a little bit of exploring because I haven't really explored DeLand. Like, I've only ever been to the dealership there. So I went kind of to their downtown area and around that area and went into a few stores and I got, you guys guessed it, more books.
Shocking.
Man, did I have a book haul. Like one of them I went into was like this little tiny, like maybe just a little bit wider than the room that I'm in. But it went like far back. And they had everything from books to collectibles to comics to all kinds of like crazy stuff. And they were telling me that they were going to a few of their local comic book, like Comic-Con type thing and stuff like that. And we chatted for a little bit. It was actually kind of cool because when I walked in, I literally was like, oh, this is a bookstore. And I just lit up. And the owner was so tickled about this. He looked over at one of his, his underlings and went, this girl here, she's an actual reader, like an actual book person, not these like people that started reading because of the internet. And I literally was like, oh man, simultaneously throwing everybody in this building under the bus while complimenting me. That's interesting. Thanks, dude.
Okay.
And so I went around and this is like, I had to dig through, there was stacks of books and boxes of books in front of the shelves of books that were already filled with books in this place. So it was literally like digging for buried treasure. So I got a lot of things. I don't have all of them like by me because I got like 18 books, but I got like this one. I saw the cover for this. It's Charles DeLint, Into the Green, but on the cover is this really like pretty redheaded lady with a harp, and I saw it and I want to be her. That was my first thought, but the book actually sounds really good. And then I got this beefy book. Look how thick this is.
She drops it and the connection just goes out.
It literally, it is heavy. I joked about having to wear a wrist brace while holding this. Like it is like actually like I could lift this and probably gain some muscle. But then a little farther away, I got some lunch at this really cool Mexican place. You know that Mexican place that was is downtown?
There's a few of them. Yeah. There's a lot of Mexican places here.
No, downtown.
Florida, you're gonna have to narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 5 of them.
Really? Now? I just remember the little hole in the wall that was near Tom's Hot Dogs.
There's at least, I think, 2 or 3 down there now, like different places. There's a
little restaurant here. Well, so here's the thing. I'm talking downtown. Like the little hole in the wall Mexican joint that was near Tom's Hot Dogs.
Yeah, Tom Hot Dogs has moved and they've rebuilt a lot of down there.
I know this, but I'm thinking back a few years. It was always in the same place. But this Mexican place reminded me of it. And I went in and I was like, oh, okay. Guys, they like made the tortilla chips fresh. Like they came out still hot with oil. Like it was so good. It was delicious. And then I drove a little bit down the way and went to this other bookstore that was like in a shotgun house type building. And it had 4 huge, massive rooms filled to the brim with books. And got a couple of things there. One of them is this one, but got even more. And it was awesome. like put a lot of the bookstores that I go to here, with the exception of like one of them, to absolute shame. Like, it was great. It was a good time. And I got home around 3, and I had my like car appointment was at like 8. So I spent a better part of like 3-4 hours just wandering around their downtown area and just going through. And there was some stuff like stores and other restaurants that I saw that I was like, oh, I want to try that. Oh, I want to try that. So I'll have to make it back up to DeLand again. And then, of course, last but not least, I'm now fully moved into the master bedroom in the house, like completely,
Nice.
which is nice.
There
So,
you go.
Nice.
yeah, that's all I've. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's all I've been up to.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and go through mine next because Chase's will just lead straight into the group chat anyway.
Mhm.
So,
GG's.
I also have been playing Doom the Dark Ages. I'm not going to talk about the gameplay. What I want to talk about is why it drives me nuts playing PC games versus a console. So, because this game is basically just literally megabytes on the disc, I decided not to buy the disc of it because there was no point. So I bought it digitally. That way I could play it on my PC, my Series X, my Series S, and my Legion Go, and just whatever. It'll be there. So I bought it and had it installing on both systems. I went, sat down at the couch, immediately started playing Doom on there, played a couple of levels, plays really well. Then I came to my PC and I was like, let's see how it looks on here. And immediately it's like, hey, you need to update your graphics card. It's like, all right, fine. Update my graphics card. All right, let's start up Doom. Pops up, and I swear to God, it's like, hey, you need to update the BIOS on your motherboard. And I'm like, Doom, why the hell do you care? Like, what the shit? So I'm having to dig through, find out what firmware it needs for the motherboard, go find that, find out if the computer's got BitLocker and everything else on there, because it's like terrifyingly saying, if you do this and you don't have that code, your computer will brick. And I'm like, come on.
You'll be doomed.
Yeah, it took me over an hour to
That's
get my computer to crank up Doom. And I'm like, I could just go sit on the couch and keep playing and it would just be fine.
That's what I call integration.
Why did it need so much?
This is what always drove me nuts about PC gaming. Everyone's like, it's so much better. And I was like, yeah, not always. There are times it's just, I want to put a game in. Maybe I have to download. Maybe it's a small update, but I can sit my ass down and play. That's what matters.
But now you play it at 240p.
No, it played a lot higher than that. But
consoles is like going out to eat, and PC is like cooking for yourself. There's so many things that can go wrong.
Yes, but it's
He's
like cooking
not
for
wrong.
yourself without always having the stuff around.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't have the stuff like the BIOS.
Next up, I did finally get a hold of my copy of Capcom Fighting Collection 2 for the Switch.
From Best Buy?
No, I went and just pre-ordered it from GameStop after the 2 attempts of getting it when they had it out early. But I got it the first day, so it's there. I haven't read the comic that's in it yet, but I did have fun going through and playing the games that are inside of it. Power Stone and Power Stone 2 are still just as good as they've ever been. I'm hoping we can kind of hop on there and play some online matches because this does have rollback. But I think this is another game that is a great fit for the Switch, but not for Joy-Cons. Like, you need a proper D-pad or a fight stick to play it correctly, because the stick on the Switch feels weird with a fighting game, and the little buttons for most of the time works. Just I can't get the moves correctly off with it, so I'll change up for that and get my fighting stick, but at least it's there. Speaking of GameStop, I started and worked maybe a whopping hour to do paperwork, and then clocked out, and they were just like, all right, I guess we'll see you at the launch, and that's it. And I was like, all right, I've done my time. I had to do all of that just to get direct deposit for maybe an hour of pay. It's hilarious.
I remember doing that. That was
I immediately, I did remember my employee number though, Rachel. I did remember it, and I got it right.
I just remembered mine.
Don't say it out loud.
No lie, I just remembered mine. I'm not even joking.
It comes back like a curse. You're just like, I had to answer the phone a few times. I was like, I'm having flashbacks, man. This is terrible.
No, it just came to me unbidden in my brain.
Well, as soon as I clocked out, I already started abusing the discount, buying Transformers and some other stuff.
Of course you did.
Of course. And I've went ahead and I paid off. I have my Switch 2 paid off. I have Cyberpunk 2077 paid off. Some of the amiibos, some controllers, a pair of Joy-Cons, and some other stuff. Just so right now, even if I can't put anything else into it before it launches, I get at least that. So that's good. During my travels, though, I got to visit the new Pink Gorilla that opened up in Vegas.
I'm sorry, the what?
Pink Gorilla. It's a video game store that's over in Seattle. It's actually really good. But they opened up
Dangerous retro store.
Yeah. They opened up a new store in Vegas. And I was on the plane in Panama City waiting to taxi out to go to Vegas. And I saw a video talking about it and was like, well, son of a bitch. So I went and they had copies of the Double Fine documentary called Psych Odyssey, which is, it's like 10 DVDs long. I'm going to be watching this for a while just to kind of explore that and see it. But it was kind of fun. Picked up a few games. And then last night after I got back, I introduced Amanda to Little Shop of Horrors.
I can't believe that she has never watched that.
She'd never seen it. So I happened to stumble across it at Walmart. They had a Blu-ray version of it for $8. And it's a really good version of it. Like surprisingly great audio, good clean video.
Yeah, neither did my wife. And I was more than happy to keep Bill Murray a secret.
I didn't tell her anything. I didn't tell her about the dentist, any of it.
Because they don't show him on like the cover or anything. So I was like, good.
Yeah.
It's fun to keep surprises.
Oh yeah. She openly was laughing while watching it. So I knew she liked it. So we watched the theatrical version because I figured I'm going to introduce her to that one first. So we played the whole way through and then went back to towards the end where it changes and watched the end of the director's cut, which is like the dark ending, where everyone dies and you've got Godzilla like plants destroying the city. And it's like really great puppet work. So that was a hilarious one to add to the list of movies she has not seen and I'm trying to fix now. And lastly, I'm going to war with the local school board.
Is it the school I'm thinking of?
Oh, it's Rutherford. I'll just say it outright because they straight up removed all of the music teachers out of the blue. Yeah. Basically shutting down the whole music program for everything.
Is that not like a really good big source of some of their like funding and fundraisers that they do is through the music programs at Rofo?
Well, the band does that stuff to pay for its own things.
Oh, I know. They're in some ways cost neutral, but because they exist, they receive certain amounts of funding.
Certain things.
Yeah.
It's a little more complicated than that with what we have to do, or what we did do since I used to help run that. But we'll have to see how that goes. I'm going to have to actually go in front of the school board later this month and actually talk to them. So that's going to be terrifying.
Did they say why? And they just did this?
No, that's part of the problem. And mind you, this is not like something's going wrong. They are award winning. They've gotten straight superiors every single year they've been there. The kids have gone on to careers, including some of them are currently in the Marine band.
Yeah, so it's good for the school. The whole thing is
good for the school, good for the students.
So clearly, the principal has a chip on their shoulder for some strange reason.
So we'll find out about that one.
Well, I'm glad.
Maybe you'll get to meet Elon Musk.
Jesus.
God, I hope not.
He'll be like, I did this.
I've had a bad enough day as it is. I don't need to deal with him. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up. And, Chase, I guess we'll go into yours and we'll go ahead and just do the group chat all at the same time. So why don't you go and start us off, man?
It's been a light week for me, but I did play Doom the Dark Ages. So
he's like, nope, that's it. I'm done.
Well, yeah. I've only, keep in mind though, I've only played like the first like area, the first like level. So like I'm not like as deep into it as like some other people are. But
I only did 3 stages so far myself.
Yeah, so
I have been told it is a relatively quick game. A friend of mine finished it in like 3 streams. And I watched they were longer streams. So like
I was like, I'm 6 out of 22 levels in, so like it's big.
Well, like comparatively to like, I'm trying to think of what he compared it to, but now I don't remember. But yeah, no, he already finished it. He hasn't platinumed it yet, but he has a tendency to platinum things, so he'll probably go back and do that. But I think all the main stuff he's done with. But that's I'm not playing it. I don't know.
Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Like, I enjoy it. Looks good, plays good, feels good. The only thing that I said that I wasn't sure about when I saw the reveal or whatever, during I can't remember what the thing, where we saw it, but, and I said on here that I was like not a fan of it, and it held true. Okay. It's like, don't like that they got rid of the glory kills.
Yeah, they're all just like,
it's just, I'm just gonna punch this guy, or I'm gonna kick this guy.
They feel like, what do you call it? They feel like bullet storm kills to me when I was playing it.
So,
where like colorful stuff come out of them. However, if you do certain things, I found, Chase, because when you get the razor blade attached to the shield, if you jump and do a last hit on somebody who's purple, you get like a glory kill where you saw him in half. So I don't know if there's ones you have to do certain things to get them.
I've found you can get different ones. It's not as much of a canned animation like it was before, which those did look cool, but Steven, I think you'd even said before, it was always the same things. Like you would kind of do the same motion, and after a while,
I didn't like it being on all the little guys. I'd love for all the big guys to keep having theirs, but every little tiny dude, like the zombies in this one, I don't need a glory kill for all of those.
Yeah, and you pretty much don't. They literally call them fodder. There's actually abilities that talk about like killing fodder to get charge ups for other stuff, and I'm like, perfect. I did find some variety in it where, depending on the weapon you're using, because there's different ones, I'm not going to spoil what's what for that. And also like the direction and speed you're coming at can kind of vary it as well. Some of it you're just in the motion of it, and you'll just do a quick kill and kind of go on. Some of it you will do more gruesome stuff, and there are more detailed ones for larger or special enemies later on. So right now you're still dealing with the babies basically. So you're just kind of tearing through them really quickly.
Yeah.
It does get better. I'll just say that.
I'll see, but I'll report later on it, but I'm just not I'm not a fan of it. The sound effects
are top notch, because hearing the crunch and the jibbing, if you want to call it that, and stuff like that, that is so satisfying when you punch somebody and you hear a crunch.
Yeah, this is a game I don't play with headphones. I put it on the surround sound and crank it the hell up like I'm watching a movie, because it gets intense.
Other than that, it does take some getting used to, because there's parts where you're like, am I still playing Doom? Because when Chris watched me play, and he's just like, I said, a lot of people are liking this because the formula is fresh. It's kind of, it's kind of Doom peppered in with some Metroid Prime puzzles and stuff like that of how to get to certain areas. So I was just like, there's story elements now. I know in the first one he just took the tutorial and threw it out.
Right.
And this one they're like, no, we have to tell you everything.
So for people wondering timeline-wise, this takes place after Doom 64, but before 2016. This is the in-between that happens there. And I don't think this is spoiling anything, but for you guys when you're playing it, you don't really get a Doom level until the 6th level. The first 5 are teaching you different things as you go, so they feel linear. They're very directional, point to point. The 6th level that I just finished before getting on the show, actually, because I was just like, I need to hurry and finish this before we go, and I really want to keep playing, is the first big open area, and it's massive.
Yeah, I think you'll like those, Chase, because a lot of people, including some streamers, have compared it to Dynasty Warriors.
Interesting.
Because you actually have morale where you can't fight a leader until you've killed enough peons to lower their morale, and I'm like, that's fucking Dynasty Warriors, because you have to goad out the leader to come out by killing all his men. So I was like, cool.
Yeah, you're not goading him out. The motherfucker's there. You just can't hurt him. It's just, it does get brutally difficult in some areas, which is fine. It's Doom. It's supposed to be. but they're very generous so far of just handing out weapons and other stuff, and you go looking for things, and it's keeping the mixture of how you want to play really well done. I'm enjoying that. And as you level up stuff, you kind of start planning out how you want to play or trying different mechanics that really grow on that as well. So I think it'll get better for you guys as well for that. So yeah. And I can play it back on PC now that my BIOS is updated. I kind of wish I wish they had some kind of multiplayer on it. I know they didn't really do that for some of the previous ones except for 2016, but that was kind of fun just to play the classic Doom style. And I wonder if some of the mechanics would be interesting for this one or some kind of co-op. I would have left,
unless it's PvE, like a horde mode. I would have just been like, yeah, don't do that. Because
well, I mean, for Doom, it's always been kind of PvP.
Doom 2016 multiplayer, I was like, this is dumb.
Well, I mean, it's always been kind of PvP. That's kind of how Doom has been. It's in the line of like Quake and stuff like that. So I would be fine with that because that is what it's supposed to be. That's like saying Forza shouldn't be a racer because you want it to be something else, but it's cars, it's racing, it's how it works. Though horde mode would be interesting. But
horde mode would be fun.
Yeah. I think it would be. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and jump into our news then. So, Nintendo had to go back and clarify that at launch, the Switch 2 will not support VRR, or virtual refresh rate, through the dock to the TV, only in handheld mode. So this was via Nintendo Life, who got Nintendo to actually respond to this because we talked about it before, where they were removing the statements from their website. So this doesn't mean that the feature can't be added later, which like for the PlayStation 5 didn't have it for over a year after launch before it was added for them. But they did release a statement apologizing for the confusion of the mistake. They said Nintendo Switch 2 supports VRR in handheld mode only. The incorrect information was initially published on the Nintendo Switch 2 website, and we apologize for the error. And then when they were asked if it would be added later, Nintendo did not outright shut it down. They said, we have nothing to announce on this topic. So they didn't say no, or it's not coming, or it's not possible.
Wait for the VRR Direct.
Right.
You get a Direct, and you get a Direct, and I get a Direct, and they get a Direct. Nintendo themselves gets a Direct to themselves.
They need to get the URL and buy it. NintendoDirect.com.
What if they have a special direct for when they onboard somebody for an employee? Welcome to your hiring direct.
That's probably actually what it's called. Oh, I should ask that question.
Oh, that's great.
We're sending your paycheck directly to you.
So, does this affect any of you guys? Like, are you kind of annoyed that this has happened? Or
remind me what it stands for and explain it to me like I'm 5.
I left all my fucks in the mailbox.
So, it's variable refresh rate. So what that helps with is if you've got a game that can't keep like a locked 60 or 30 or it's variable somewhere in there, it will set the screen to refresh as the game system gives it a screen. So it helps cut down or prevent screen tearing. And it makes the game even at lower frame rates look smoother.
So it helps it play better. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of like it. Like that's why a lot of newer games will have a target of 40 FPS, so they can do more graphics and stuff, because with variable refresh rate, it looks smooth, plays well. They're getting the graphical advantage, but not going as low as 30.
So frame rate drops may or may not be more visible while in docked mode, is what I'm hearing. Okay, yeah. Not that my eyeballs notice that kind of thing, but
I mean, it seems like a really big. Like somebody really screwed the pooch to have that announced and shown and posted on their website just to go, oh, that's not actually there. Whoops.
Well, here's the thing. Why can it only support it in handheld mode and not dock mode?
Because the screen on the Switch 2 is a variable refresh rate screen. It's designed for that. It's like
they'd have to do something with the software to get it to work on dock mode.
Well,
got it.
You still have to have a TV that supports it. Like my HD TV supports that, but like out of my 2 computer monitors, the one I'm talking to you guys on has it. The other one does not. So I have to limit it to this screen if I end up using it. So I don't know. It's not for everybody. It's a nice feature to have that can make games that are pushing, more graphical fidelity play a little bit smoother. Like I said, my thing is just that it was kind of just a weird thing to announce and then just take away, or at least drop on the mistake. So I don't know. Switch 2 has been a weird announcement after another one.
It's not a Switch you can just switch off. You can't share games.
Oh, God. All right. So while they were researching the VRR issue, Nintendo Life did get Nintendo to release a statement about their keycard plans for Nintendo directly. They stated, "We have no plans to use game keycards for Nintendo-developed titles."
Of course they don't.
So, I mean, that's at least nice to know that first-party Nintendo-made games will actually be on the card.
Shocked meme right here. It's like,
some people were wondering. I mean, we've got, like I said, Microsoft's releasing their own games where they're not on the disc for first-party titles, or some of them we don't even know if they're getting physical title releases for certain ones. And
yeah, but we've had that since Call of Duty. Like, Call of Duty's not on the disc.
Well, I guess
Tony Hawk's not on the disc.
Well, now that it's first party, yeah.
I guess Nintendo knows that there is some backlash with game keycards and stuff like that, and some issues that people have with it. So the one reassurance that they can give people is that they're not going to do that for their games. So it does, make them feel a little better. That's the way I would think. I mean, you gotta, in some cases, as a business, they got to pick their battles, and this is a battle they can win.
Yeah. I mean, they did say we have no plans. That doesn't mean they can't change their mind later, but hopefully they don't.
I don't think they're going to, not unless something crazy happens. But I wouldn't know. I don't work there.
Go ahead, Stace.
I mean, at the end of the day, like if they, say they fund, like say they Bayonetta 3 game into existence or something, they just decide to give a developer like a blank check and say, hey, make this game, make it as good as you can. And they say, oh yeah, we can do that, but it's probably going to have to be a key card release because it's going to be like too much for the cart to handle or something. Like, at the end of the day, wouldn't you want the game to be as good as it can be?
That's actually the one that would be the most difficult to decide, because Nintendo would be funding a Bayonetta 3, but Sega seems set on doing key cards. So it's like,
well, I'm just using Bayonetta 3. I'm just using it as an example because obviously it wouldn't exist without Nintendo's money. So like,
or I guess Bayonetta 4 at this point or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But like if Nintendo funded a game and the developer said like, oh, we need to make this a key card release for X, Y, and Z reasons. At the end of the day, you want the game to be the best it can be, right? So, I mean, it could happen. Never say never. That's what I always say.
I just didn't want them to do Code in a Box.
Yeah.
And Activision and EA decided we're going to start the Scummy Wars and do Code in the Box. And I was just like, the only other systems that have Code in a Box is stupid Disney Dreamlight Valley. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you guys doing that? And then they even got lazy, Ubisoft did, with Just Dance, and they were like, Code in a Box from now on.
Well, it's because they want you to use their like streaming service type thing, like subscription service.
If key cards are cheap, but they still allow you to resell and trade and play with your friends, just do it, guys. Stop cutting corners. You're EA and Activision. Dude, it's not like you are, I don't know, it's not like you're Sandfall Interactive, where it's like you're a small team.
Yeah, they've got the money. They can afford to do it.
Interactive's like, we're very interested in making a Switch 2 version of Expedition 33. And I was just like, please, God, please do.
Yeah, Expedition 33, Rockstar was talking about possibly doing Red Dead Redemption 2. I would kind of hope that would be on cart, but we'll see. I don't know. Could be fun. All right, let's move on to our next bit here. So another bit of Nintendo news. I know there's a lot starting off today, but so Nintendo announced the updates that we're getting for the 12 Switch titles that are getting Switch 2 updates for free around launch. We don't know if there'll be other titles that will eventually get updates beyond the first set of Switch 2 Edition, beyond Switch 2 Edition releases. But we at least now know what these are going to do. And it's not major changes, but there are a couple fundamentally good ones. So ARMS is the first one, which is basically just getting resolution, frame rate, and HDR support. A lot of that's also pointing out that like the 4-player mode you could do for multiplayer will now run at a much better resolution and frame rate instead of dropping to 30 frames like it was before. So, hey, if you're still playing ARMS, it got better. I liked ARMS. It just never went anywhere. Next, we have Big Brain Academy, Brain versus Brain, which they're doing a 4-person party mode for local or online game share via game chat. So basically letting you play with friends online off of one copy or locally without having to split the screen. I still want to see how that's going to work, especially with like Switch 1s in tow. So who knows? Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is getting a higher resolution, HDR support, and then it's getting 2-person game share support for local or online via game chat as well. So this is going back to, we've kind of come around from like the Wii U release, then the Switch port, and now we're back to a version of the Wii U release where each person gets their own screen. Yeah, we're right back. Nintendo found a way to bring the Wii U back, kind of, which is hilarious. Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. This is the one I'm happiest about because I love playing these. Up to 4-person online or local game share via game chat for 34 different games. So that'll be for like a lot of the card games, chess, things like that, or titles where people need to have their own screen to see their specific hand while they're playing so that others can't, just stare at the screen and see what they have. That kind of breaks poker. Any of you guys ever play the Clubhouse games at all?
Yeah. Nope.
Mm-mm. I finished them all on my DS.
Nice. Yeah, we played them a lot here with the DS because we use the game share on the DS as well a lot, where you could just kind of let someone else play. Game Builder Garage is getting resolution and Joy-Con 2 mouse control support. Some people are kind of upset they're not expanding what you can do on it, but it kind of makes sense not to, because then your creations would have to be limited just to Switch 2. They're just making it easier for you to work on them, and then Switch 1 players can still play them. New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe is just getting much higher resolution. Weirdly enough, from what I could tell, I don't think it's getting game share. So it's just we're going to get that in 4K, I guess. Maybe.
It looked real pretty.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we're getting a higher resolution and frame rate improvements.
It needs it.
Yeah.
Is the game going to be playable now?
The screenshots still look like ass, but
I had never played that one.
Prettier ass.
never played that one. I
had fun with it, but it was rough.
I haven't played. I don't think I've played a Pokemon game since Arceus, but like before that, it was Sun and Moon.
Arceus was fun.
Yeah,
like Scarlet and Violet had potential for a lot of stuff, but oh my god, it was so broken for stuff. Like you'd see a mountain range and it's one texture just repeated and spread across of it. It just looks terrible. Sadly, that's not going away. They're not changing the textures.
Now you can see it in 4K.
Right, you're going to see it clear. I don't think they're going to get to 4K. I think this might be like 1440p or maybe finally up to 1080. I don't know. They released screenshots for it, and you could tell it was very selective, but you could see more of the Pokemon in the area, so maybe it'll kind of push your draw distance out. I don't know. It's going to be a miracle either way. Chase is right. That game was rough. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is kind of an interesting one because each half of the game has different updates. So both parts are getting resolution and frame rate improvements, but Bowser's Fury is the only one getting HDR support. So I guess going back and adding it to the Wii U port wasn't working, so they didn't do it. We're getting 4-player Super Mario 3D World via game share, and then 2-player Bowser's Fury game share, both locally or online via game chat. So a lot of game chat support. I still find it interesting that we're going to be able to do this online also. We'll have to try it out and see how it works. Then we had Super Mario Odyssey, which is just getting a higher resolution and HDR support, along with 2-player game share, local or online, with one person playing as Cappy. So it's going to be boring. We tried the multiplayer with that, and it just felt weird. Like they couldn't do anything until you decided to throw the hat.
Yeah.
But then they could just run around as something else, and you were stuck as Mario with no hat. So good luck. And lastly, we had The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening, both getting resolution and HDR support. They didn't list anything for the frame rate hookups, but a lot of that, like it was set to 60 FPS, but was limited. So we're kind of wondering if it's just going to brute force it to be.
Yeah, those games already run unlocked, so they're just going to lock it.
Right. So hopefully it'll possibly run better, but I don't know. So do any of these interest you guys at all, or is it more just a curiosity?
I'll be interested in watching all the comparison videos, but that's about it.
Yeah. What about you, Chase?
I've already gotten what I needed out of all these games, except for Scarlet and Violet can lick my Pokemon. So
Lick a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know that I might go back to try like a feature, like if people say, "Oh, let's try like the 4-player, Mario 3D or something." But I mean, otherwise, I've kind of with Swan, like I've gotten what I wanted to out of the games that I've played.
Yeah, I think this is more aimed towards people that are new to these titles, just kind of adding extra features, or if they only had a limited amount of play. I'm going to get some use out of these. I know for GameShare, I can play with the boys here locally. They're going to be getting Switch 2s, as well as I can play some of these with Jen with her Switch 1. Otherwise, she's going to be stealing my Switch to play Pokemon.
There's just a lot of games I'm not playing because I'm waiting to see if they update, because then if they update, I'm going to go play them. Like, I'm not touching Xenoblade Chronicles X, especially with what they claim to have found in the code, so I'm going to wait.
Go ahead, Rachel.
I don't know what they found in the code, but okay.
It was the hooks for a 60 FPS mode.
Oh, interesting. I think a lot of these updates is really also to just beef up the available launch titles on the, like available playable things you can play on your Switch 2 at launch. So which is good, because then it kind of beefs their numbers when it comes to play data.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm glad that they're doing free updates for certain titles.
Oh, absolutely.
This is something like Xbox and PlayStation did as well, and they did very well with. I know Sony had a couple of good games that you could put in there that got pretty impressive boosts when it moved over to PS5. So, hell, why not? But yeah, we'll have to figure out later, maybe do a list of what games we want to see updated or what things are broken that we want fixed. Because this doesn't address all of them, but we'll see. All right, let's move on to our next little bit of why AI sucks. Well, everybody knows we're not fans of artificial intelligence here or AI in any way, but hey, and yet another shining example of why AI is bad. Fortnite has been running an AI-powered Darth Vader NPC in their games, and users have already been teaching it not only to cuss, but to use racial and homophobic slurs, all within about 30 minutes.
Wow.
It took them about 30 minutes to fix it, but it did not take long for the people to teach it this stuff. So they issued a hot fix and about 30 minutes after it happened, but videos are already up showing Vader's colorful responses to questions because they were using particular prompts to get him to say things.
Yeah, he gets angry now and he chokes you if you try to do it.
Oh, nice. Only players 13 and older are able to interact with the character, while younger players have to get parental permissions, which I don't even know how they go about that to do it. Epic also claims it will, quote, not use any of your interactions with Darth Vader to train AI models. Bullshit. The worst of this, though, is that this is being done in the late James Earl Jones voice. His family released a statement about what Epic was doing with the character before this stuff happened. They were just doing the announcement. They said James Earl felt the voice of Darth Vader was inseparable from the story of Star Wars, and he always wanted fans of all ages to continue to experience it. We hope that this collaboration with Fortnite will allow both longtime fans of Darth Vader and newer generations to share in the enjoyment of this iconic character. I guarantee he would not want any of this actually said. Because I'm kind of curious. I want to ask you guys about this. Like, it seemed the intent of what James Earl Jones did was to continue with the shows and movies of having his voice portray Darth Vader. But this kind of feels like a bastardization of it, where they're just putting it in games and letting it just make up stuff in his voice and say things. that are not even tangentially related to it. So I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on this as well. Who wants to go first? Steven, go for it.
I actually don't mind it because it's just the it's kind of like a teacher in an unruly classroom. Eventually, the teacher is going to crack. So the AI here was pushed towards it. So and people had to work pretty hard and make a good AI case to fool it. So I'm glad they went in and did the hot fix. I'm pretty okay with this. The only thing that would suck is that before James Earl Jones did sign over this, and I'm wondering what the cost is. There are actors out there who do a 1-to-1 perfect sound alike, and now they're out of a job for that because other than maybe filling in spots which they don't not needed now in movies where James Earl Jones was Darth Vader. Now they're like, oh, the AI will just fill in the blanks. So I feel bad for the sound alikes that used to have like a job doing this, and now they're like, oh, you're not needed because we can do a one flat payment for James Earl Jones and kind of use it. So,
yeah, I'm curious what the payment arrangement for that was. Chase, you have any thoughts on this?
Never underestimate people in the gaming community. Never underestimate.
Somebody will always ruin it for everyone else.
Somebody will always ruin it for everybody else. But I actually kind of agree with Swan. Like, I think there's quite a few talented voice actors out there now that probably could have stepped into the role in a way. Yeah, his voice is synonymous and iconic with the character. It's just like, it's just like if you hear like a famous singer or something, like their voice is iconic and synonymous with a band. But it is a little bit, I think Swan's right. I kind of feel bad for like the people that could do the 1-to-1. And
because I'd rather they use them for like probably like the story elements. If they're just having an NPC interact, I'm okay with AI in this fact. Just make sure you have those safeguards in place. But if you're going to have, I don't know, the next season of Mandalorian or something like that, where Darth Vader wants to show up, or some weird flashback again where Hayden Christensen's busy, don't use the sound alike. Give him a job.
Yeah, I guess it kind of goes back and forth on that because, we've talked about it before about people having control and the rights of their voice. And if that's something he agreed to and signed over as a means to continue supporting his family and wanting to continue that character that he created, and they kind of went from there.
Like I was today years old, but more this year's days old, when I found out that Dave Coulier, one of the Ghostbusters in the cartoon, he was actually a sound alike for Richard Pryor. So he went on Oprah and he actually did the voice. And he's just like
8 years old.
and he's just like, when he had to fill in for lines that Richard Pryor couldn't do, he did. Or if he was busy, he did it. And I was just like, excuse me? So I think there's a tremendous market for that when like they need more lines recorded or they need a made for TV version and the person's just not available or dead.
And that still comes down to the whole likeness right of copying someone's voice or so forth, because there's been court cases about that where it's like, we don't want you copying our voice or having a sound alike, because then they don't pay the actual actor. They go for the sound alike. And if they don't agree to that, there's so many back and forth for this whole situation. Rachel, do you have anything you wanted to add to it, or?
I mean, I don't like AI. We all know this. This is nothing new. And I do believe that, he did his estate, and he himself kind of said this too, like, he didn't want his voice is synonymous with it, and it's kind of hard to remove that. But to Chase's point, could a very similar voice have been achieved using different technology and other good voice actors and stuff like that? Yes. But yeah. I don't know. It's a slippery slope.
It feels like this is one of those situations, this one specifically, there is no right answer. It's going to go.
There isn't.
You could argue in every direction and be right or wrong. Like, there's no way to really do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Either way, someone will find a way to make it say racial slurs and homophobic statements. So, thanks, gamers.
Because it's the internet.
Yeah, God, why? Oh,
is
man.
Is it so hard to write code that says if then?
Right. Please don't say these words.
No.
Yeah, here's a list of words you don't say.
Done. We all say that, Swan, but then again, we don't know how to code. So I guess we're the idiots that are just trying to backseat drive right now.
With their luck, they would make that definitive list of words it can't say, and then someone would trick it into saying the list of what it's not supposed to say, and it would just read them all in one line.
There's somebody out there that is smarter than all of us that can get it to do whatever
smarter
they
than
want.
the AI.
The reason I will, because they haven't made a public statement about this, but the reason I will always say that AI is not all bad is, according to reports, Expedition 33 uses AI, but what people were looking into is because of the backgrounds, they used AI to basically say, can you fill in the rest of this background with the same type of scenery or the same crystals or trees, and it randomly generated the rest of the scenery for people when it wasn't something that was a set piece. And I was like, for a team of 30, go for it, guys. Like, after 5 years, you wanted this game to finally come out. So if you're using AI for that, that's a good use of AI.
My only worry about that, though, is you're going to have larger companies looking at their smaller teams going, well, we don't need you guys for level designers. We don't need you to design the backgrounds of these particular areas. We'll just tell the AI to do it so we can clear them out and keep you guys smaller. And
you still have to have the guy who makes the models in the first place.
They're trying to use AI to get around that too. So who knows?
Because if you just use AI from scratch, people can tell. But if you teach it and you use it internally, it's much better. Because it, if it's all true, because they're not going to make a statement right now, but I can definitely see that when I'm walking around Expedition 33, I'm like, I could see this being AI, yeah, but it's fine.
I mean, it's weird using AI because like there's procedural like painting software that I've seen developers use. Like they can paint an area and it kind of procedurally fills in certain areas to kind of make, like we're going to make this part of a rock wall and it'll add some plants and moss and stuff as it goes along. And I've seen it with like city builders where you can paint where a city's going to be and it kind of builds a structure and you can kind of go from there. And you get into that whole thing of that's an artist using a tool versus the computer kind of making the decisions. Like, does it just do the first pass? Are they coming back and refining it? Like, there's still got to be some kind of interaction.
I mean, there probably is, but then we're not going to like know that unless we ask the developer themselves.
I'll watch this incredibly large documentary and see if Double Fine did anything.
But here's the thing. It's like, it's all right when it's used as a tool. And if you're using it to help speed up your process of replicating trees or textures and stuff like that, that's fine. But it's when you use it to completely replace a job a person could do, it's a little weird.
Well, it's still a tool, even by that.
Yes.
Even by that definition.
There's levels, though, of what I think it should be used as. So.
It's always as a tool. Don't be a tool and use it.
Yes. There you go. That's perfect. Perfect.
We should quote you on that, Stephen. I'll let an AI quote you. We'll just recreate it in that.
Yeah. Make you look like a baby.
Sound like Darth Vader saying it. All right, let's go on to companies stealing things. So Bungie, again, was found to have been using stolen art from artist Anti-Real in their upcoming game Marathon. The Scottish indie artist, her actual name is Fern Hook, had her art show up in the ongoing Marathon Alpha as images and footage came out about the game's environments while people were streaming and showing early access. She made a statement about the discovery of her work being used by the company for the game, stating, quote, "Bungie is of course not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution." She posted highlights with similar icons, fonts, designs, and very, very blatant details of what she made for all of this stuff showing up in the game that were one-to-one copied, not just like, oh, it's a similar design. It was there. Bungie came out and stated they had immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artists' decals in Marathon, and went on to find that an ex-Bungie artist has included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. So, yeah. Bungie's working to go through the assets from previous employees now to look for more issues like this. But they've stopped streaming parts of the game for a while they were doing it, so they wouldn't keep airing the details. And this isn't the first time. Similar issues happened about a year ago where a fan made a Nerf gun inspired by the Destiny art style, just to then turn around and find the gun added wholesale to Destiny 2 without credit or saying anything. And then further back, they had incidents with art and other things showing up in Destiny 2 cutscenes as well as previous trailers. So yeah, they're
so apparently as well as the Bungie artists that still work there and the Bungie team, they're also employing Robin Thicke and Vanilla Ice on their team because it's not the same. It's not the same.
Deep cut, Steven. Jesus. Great.
So you're caught 3 times, and now you can't. There's no way you're going to change it because the game's about to come out and fail miserably. So it's like you guys can't go back on it. You have to release it. You have to cut her paycheck, and then you're gonna, see if you'll beat the Concord record. I don't know.
Because I looked at it, and it's not those situations where like my art looks like your art. There's like one of the pieces that she did that had this whole line of like 10 icons that she created that are in a row. They took the whole list and just brought it into a banner, like turned that part sideways. The same icons are there. Like it is one for one.
For me, it was the wording when there's like a descriptive wording on the art pieces, and they just copied that word for word, font for font. I was like, they're not even trying anymore.
And like Rachel, you're an artist. Like, how would you feel just to find stuff that you designed just taken without any information? You just see it in a trailer and went, "Oh shit, I made that."
I'd squint at it. First off, I'd be like, how'd that get there?
They have the right name though, because just like Bungie, you go really low and then everything comes right back at you. So.
My God, Steven, you are full of one-liners today. Lord in heaven.
Oh man. I just, I know there's, and they're trying to blame this on previous artists. I know they immediately went to that, and I don't know if that's actually the case or if this is just kind of a
that guy doesn't work there anymore. He did that. Oops.
Right. Blame that guy. He can't fight back.
That's where all the cocaine came from. Sorry.
Oh my God. One-liner after one-liner after one-liner after one-liner.
Yeah, they're using that was a QA tester.
Well, Rachel, of course it's one-liner after another. It's a lot of cocaine, just line after line after line.
It's like, the meth lab at Bungie headquarters, that was the QA tester.
God
Sorry.
damn.
We didn't know he did that. Like, come on.
Oh man. We didn't rob that bank. That was the teller that quit last week. That we got rid of. It still amazes me with what's going with Bungie and all this. Sony is still like, what are they up to now? Like, what? Not even doubled down. They've gone well beyond that. I'm trying to think of the term to use at this point. On live service games, they just keep trying to make it happen. And they're not even making all of the stuff for their games. I mean, at least, I don't know. I'm curious what their QA process for this kind of stuff is, because how do you go back and verify art that someone puts in? Because it's, you can't always just compare it to something else and find it. They kind of have to get called out. Like, Rachel, are you aware of any way to kind of verify someone's artwork or anything?
I mean, you can. I mean, really, on it, like verify someone's artwork, like through like that they have submitted and they already are existing part of a company. And I mean, there's verification tools and programs out there, and then also, reverse image search, that anybody can use to verify someone's art, that they haven't stolen it or anything like that. It's just common sense, mainly. But the thing is like when you work for a company and you're doing art for them and you're doing that kind of thing, they really give you the benefit of the doubt that you are doing all of your own work. Like certain things, there's more context and stuff that I can go into. But like a lot of it is like, existing assets that you have available, that some people are composite artists. They use available stuff that is free for them to use and for their company to use because they have a license with Adobe Stock or something like that to adapt and change things into artwork and posters and signs and all kinds of different things.
Like the music at the beginning of the show and our sound effects are from a stock license that I purchased for us to use for this stuff. So yeah.
So in any case, it's, but really a company is giving their employee the benefit of the doubt that this is their work. So they feel that they should not have to check their people's work because they have hired a good and honest people. That is basically just that's what companies do.
Yeah.
They should not have to check. But if this kind of thing,
you have a horrible lawyer on your team, though, too.
Yes, but also if this kind of thing keeps happening, then all gaming companies will start practicing that, where they will basically check your work like you are some university or state college student submitting a paper, and it's run through a program to check for plagiarism.
Yeah, the irony of that is, I think this week I was reading there's a lady suing her college for all of her tuition back because she found out the professor was using ChatGPT to make the lessons and teach. And she's like, I'm not learning anything. You're just asking a computer to tell you and you're regurgitating it. So even that is not accurate.
No, it's not.
Because like I've seen, you were talking about like composite artists and stuff like that. I've seen people take, like they'll see part of an image that interests them and they'll take that part and make it like a brush and use that to make a piece of art, and you can kind of tell, and stuff like that. And that's a little different because I think that falls under transformative works.
Transformative works, fair use, that kind of thing.
To a point,
and some of it is just you can turn almost anything into a texture. Like I've literally taken a picture of a wall because I liked the texture pattern on the wall and turned it into a brush in Procreate in Photoshop. Like you can do these kind of things with enough practice. Like there's tutorials on how to do it. But there's some things that I can't draw from. I'm not very good at drawing from scratch unless it's like a scene, like architectural or landscape. Like I can't draw people. I can't draw hands. I can't even draw animals. So like I know figures. Yes, I know my limits on my art, so I know what I do and do not do.
Right. Go ahead, Stephen.
I was just reading about some of the darker aspects with AI right now because of what's happening over on the hellscape known as X. And one of them was a lot of Japanese artists stay over there because of the reach they have, and that's how they get a lot of their work. And they're not getting as much on Blue Sky or other social medias right now. But it's gotten so bad that when they do post an artwork, I literally looked at the post, and you can see in the comment thread another just Japanese fan saying like, "This photo's nice, but I want to see this picture, but take out this." And Grok does that. It copies their artwork and takes out the background or changes the character to the way they want it. And to make things even worse for people, which is why a lot of people are leaving en masse, is if you ever are on X and you see a celebrity you like, you can be one of those scumbags and you can say, "I'd like to see this person naked," and Grok will do that for you.
Oh God!
There's no filters, so be careful.
Yeah, this is why I just don't go over there anymore. That's
okay.
terrible. Ugh.
Or just don't post any pictures.
So yes, I guess Bungie, you could be worse. Don't do that. Ugh. All right. Well, we'll get back to this one when Marathon inevitably fails. We'll talk about the closure of the.
They won't finish the marathon.
It'll be a short marathon. All right, let's move over to the speed run. Speaking of marathons. So Nintendo added Killer Instinct Gold to the Nintendo Switch Online, Nintendo 64. This is actually a fairly fun fighting game. It ran pretty well back in the day, and it's a good one now. It's just one of the very few Nintendo 64 fighting games, so enjoy it while you can. Next up, 8-Bit Do is launching a new buttons-only fight stick for the Nintendo Switch. Think of it kind of like the Hitbox design, where it's all directions for buttons. It's only 1.6 centimeters thick and about the same size as an A4 piece of paper. So unless you're an artist or print photos, you have no idea what size that is. So just think about a piece of paper, maybe a little bigger.
Anybody who can confidently use those control sticks, I hope you're in a relationship because they'll love you.
Meanwhile, an A5 is smaller than a standard paper.
Rachel gets it.
I get it because I use paper a lot.
And an A3 is larger.
Why is this naming? Why is this this paper naming convention this way? We don't know. I have no idea.
I never expected this to go this far with this paper joke. This is great. You guys never disappoint me. Oh. So Nintendo surprise dropped the new updated Diddy Kong artwork in the new DK art style. He has a bit more of a belly, a defined but still thin line between his eyes. They're more expressive as well. He has teeth now.
Thank God for that.
He has the DK logo as a pin on the side of his hat. Steven pointed that out for me. Thank you. But we can't tell if he still has Nintendo on the front because he actually moved his hat up a little bit and they block the entire front. So we don't know if that's for a later reveal or if they've just got rid of it completely. And then he has thinner fingers and toes, a slightly lighter shade of brown fur, and a thicker tail. Go ahead, Steven.
Why are people zooming in to be like, is his toes thicker or thinner?
Oh, I didn't zoom in. I sent you the picture that had the old and the new art in the same pose next to each other, and I just kind of looked at it and went,
I'm just saying
that's different.
There's people that are like, because I see it on Blue Sky, they're like, new asset drop, and they're like, let's get in the super magnifiers, and is his right eye smaller than his left eye? Like, does he still have nipples? Like, what
I didn't look for that.
Oh, man.
He still has a belly button. I know that.
I know they got mad when the Mario Party came out, and they're like, they removed Mario's nipples that he had in Odyssey. I was like, what the heck?
That was funny. Okay. They actually gave Mario nipples in Odyssey. I was like, all right, well, there we go. Yeah, just like I said, it was the same pose between the two versions of it next to each other, and I'm just looking at it going, oh, okay, yeah, his feet are a little different. All right, this is a little different. That's all the reason I noticed. But yeah, some people do get crazy. And then this one is going to kind of lead us into our big question tonight. But Nintendo has announced to the gaming press that they will not be receiving review units until launch day.
Good.
And say it is due to a required significant day one patch. No word.
Good. It's just good that they're not. I'm just saying.
Well, hold on. No word on what this patch will entail, but Nintendo is holding some preview events for journalists before launch, but it would be kind of limited, and it's mostly focused on Mario Kart World. So let's go ahead and jump into the big question, and that'll cover this because Rachel, it seems like she is ready to go on this one. All right, so the big question for this week, with Nintendo announcing that no media groups will be getting the Switch 2 before launch for review because of the day one patch, how do you feel this will affect players in regards to buying Switch 2, or does the sold-out pre-orders make hardware reviews almost pointless at launch? And more importantly, do you think this will hurt particular titles that likely won't have day one reviews for people to check out more? Rachel, since you seem gung-ho on this one, I'll let you start us off.
Okay. Do y'all remember before like game reviews websites and YouTube channels were really much of a thing? When all we had were, gaming magazines and stuff like that. Y'all remember those days, right?
Yep.
did and you know, they got some review copies of games, they got some review consoles, but it wasn't like a lot of times these magazines did not come out before the release. They did not come out day of. They usually came out a little bit after. Like typically. Did this negatively affect releases of games and consoles? No, it didn't. If nothing else, they made things magical because there was so much we didn't know. It kept the surprise. There was some whimsy and some mystery when games would come out, when consoles would come out. So I'm fine with this. And also, it without like all of these day one reviews and day one stuff not being here, there, or even pre-release reviews where the embargo is lifted like a day before release and stuff like that, it might help somebody who maybe would not have been able to get a Switch to able to get a Switch too, because some crazy person saw so-and-so's review and they had to have it. I think it's fine. And also, the Switch 2 has had some interesting times with leaks and all kinds of anything. So I'm really not that surprised that they're doing this, because they've had a bit of a time with it. And I think they just want a no frills release, which is fine. I mean, they've done preview events. There was that whole tour that went around the country, the world, really. And yes, there are some other preview event things that are happening, and stuff like other events that are happening as the console comes out. Like there's gonna be those kind of things. So this reminds me of how they like consoles used to release back in the day, where a big old semi gaming bus thing would show up in a Walmart parking lot, and that was how you got to experience the console before it came out, or when it came out, but maybe they were sold out. And I think it kind of harkens back to the olden days of gaming, the older days, which is kind of a nice throwback with this. I like it. I think it's fine.
Okay.
So, and yeah, sure. There might be some titles that are hurt, but I think overall it's a good thing, because maybe those review copies of games or review consoles can now be included on the stock of pre-orderable consoles that weren't available normally. So another thing to consider. And that's my 2 cents.
All right. Chase, what about you?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to impact the Switch 2 selling. So, like, I think we've already seen that. So
it's sold out.
I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I mean, do I think that maybe it might impact a person that's like on the fence, thinking about if they should get one or not? Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily think so. I think part of the problem is that, you know, to kind of like go back to kind of talk about reviewing just a little bit in general.
Sure.
The thing is that, like, you know, people don't really trust reviews nowadays. People don't trust like a lot of gaming media nowadays, like especially after, you know, like back in the day when we kind of all found out about IGN and how it was like they're just basically getting paid for good reviews and stuff like that.
It kind of just,
it's just kind of what they say.
I trust the guy behind the counter more than I trust IGN.
Oh, I don't trust the guy behind the counter. He wants to make a sale.
Well, also, that's what I'm saying. I trust him more than I trust IGN, but I don't trust the guy behind the counter that much.
I would more trust the guy who's only worked there 1 hour and is getting the discount.
Yes,
because he's just there for the games, and he's not actually working for GameStop. He's just like there for an hour, answering some phone calls like at GameStop, and then he's telling everybody like what they need to know. Like, hey, Doom's a key card, you fuck.
Yeah, still that whole thing with IGN, I don't know why people kind of keep sticking to that, because they have, just like any other paper, editorial and marketing are different departments. They don't interact or tell each other stuff. So there hasn't been any evidence that I've even seen. I've talked to the people that, some of the people that do reviews and stuff like that,
So
that
some
they're
of them
paid
are
to
good.
do it.
Some
People
of them
don't
are
agree
good.
with them. Yeah, I always want to be kind of careful of that whole thing of, oh, well, they're paid for that. Well, they may not agree. You may not agree with what they say. And yeah, they're paid to write, but they're not, Nintendo's not paying them to give Pokemon a bad review. That's kind of a weird thing that people go into.
Sometimes I think
No, but I've heard allegedly that, like, for it's Sony in particular, like, it's the same thing with like the video game awards, like they're paying for good reviews is what I've heard.
Well, like with
I don't know if it's
awards and
true.
stuff like that, like we know Jeff Keighley, the whole thing is marketed. Like he's very clear about that.
Oh yeah.
With how they do stuff versus, how reviews are done and stuff like that. And they do pay to have like previews and stuff like that. But anyways, continue.
I just don't think that I don't know, like I like the whole idea of reviews as is like the actual concept in its like base form is nice. You have somebody that tests a product, writes about the product, what it's good at, what it's not good at, like what it can do, what it can't do,
Right.
and then you put that information out to the public so that way the public can then see like, oh, this thing can't do this, the thing that I thought maybe it could do. Now maybe it's not for me now. Like,
right.
You just save somebody wasting their money on something in and of itself is a good system. It is a good thing. It's just that, like I said, I think nowadays I don't think people necessarily trust it as much, and maybe, I don't know, but I don't think it's going to hurt its selling. I don't think the Switch 2 needs. I don't think Switch 2 needs like review copies out there to actually sell. And what are they going to say? Like, what are they going to say? Supposedly, like, oh, it's a better Switch. Everybody knows it's a better Switch. Like, just it's the same thing that like PS5 and Xbox Series X. It's a better Xbox. It's a better PlayStation.
Better pizza, Papa John's.
Yep.
Papa John's pizza.
Oh Lord. All right, Steven, what about you?
Okay, so people need to realize a few things. So for the big question, I'm going to say no to everything except for that last sentence.
Okay.
And I've only heard one report that kind of puts the words out there for the developers saying that they're mad. But I don't believe that's necessarily the case. But what I am going to say is, no, we don't need a system review right now. They had all their experiences. They had stuff where I saw countless videos of people getting to rotate and do whatever they wanted except take it apart to the system. So I already got a review of the system itself, how everything worked, how everything moved.
Right.
And in terms of the physical aspect of it, because technology and the engineering of it will come later. We already got all the specs confirmed. So they took it all. They took it all and said, yeah, all the leaks were correct and everything's right. And if you want tech tips or one of these other people to start taking it apart, it's going to be after they get their own one that they don't care that they're avoiding the warranty, to just take it apart and start showing it. Because I don't need to see a blurry chipset on a blue background saying this is the chipset. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So that part's already been done. My concern is, yes, all the Nintendo experiences have absolutely like zero playable third-party games except for the GameCube classics. Like everything is all their first-party stuff. I looked into it, and it's Metroid Prime 4, it's Hyrule Warriors, Mario Party, Jamboree, Donkey Kong, Wind Waker, F-Zero, Soul Calibur. You're not getting to play Split Fiction. You're not getting to try out.
They did have playable for Cyberpunk, for Yakuza, and a few places, stuff like that as well. So people have played them and had footage of it.
Because that one they've shown tons of videos to show more of it, and for actual like
I've seen people playing
hands-on, like some of those have only happened because of Creator's Voice, which I thank Nintendo for keeping that going.
Right.
So for games that aren't even out yet, saying, hey, we're going to show you these games as well to show you finally how they're running. Like they just released a Hogwarts Legacy trailer that shows what the upgrade looks like. And it's not a frame rate and resolution boost. It actually adds in missing assets now. So bridges that had tons of people walking on it that were missing in the Switch version, Switch 2, they're all there. Candles are back where they're supposed to be. Everything, like there's no missing walls. Like everything now parity with the previous versions that were better before.
Right.
So, that part's important. I think in terms of the little instances, Nintendo is doing their best with the Today app to show you just about everything, from the new battery feature where it stops at 90% to the fact that when you lose a Joy-Con, you can make it beep as well as vibrate to find it now. So you can
I saw that.
That is cool.
So they're doing a lot of great things there. You're allowed to look at the box art by rotating it. Somebody finally got a retail box art for Mario Kart World and opened it up, and they're translucent red. They're not solid red, which is kind of neat.
Interesting.
So I think they're doing the best they can because they have a lot of new infrastructures here they haven't done before, especially with game chat. And the fact that they're stress testing it by saying for a whole year it's open to everybody, it's going to be something that they're continuing to work on. And I think the day one patch is going to be important because that's when everybody and their mother is going to be going on the server. So they're probably just getting ready for quite the overload of data coming in and out of them.
Oh, it's going to be such a rough day.
I feel that the only thing it's really hurting, unless these companies have the ability to put out a video or something, is it's hurting the third parties. And Treehouse was very important because we got to see stuff like Street Fighter running on it. And people were like, wow, it runs with minimal to no lag. It's the best version. They're finding out like little things here. Somebody forgot to hold the Pro Controller and he said the D-pad is miles better than the original Pro Controller. And I'm like, that has me excited.
Right.
So I was like, people have already done the reviews that I feel are important. Like, I don't need a 45-minute breakdown, really. I just need to know is this better? Does this still work? Is this broken? And, that's the gist of it there. It's just, I feel for the developers because I think some of them might be like, yeah, I wish like our games would get reviewed day one because that's when important sales for us before sales happen.
Okay. All right. So part of the reason I wrote this question when I was thinking about it is the fact that like there are some reviews that kind of whenever I'm taking them into account for stuff, like if I've already decided I'm going to get something, I do like seeing the reviews of people I have vetted that I've kind of gone through, and you figure out who seems to like games that you kind of like, who, views things in certain ways. Not that it's trying to just be the same as you. I'm fine with people being different on stuff, but you at least get honest opinions on that. So there are a lot of those, like, Before You Buy and some of the other ones that I do like watching. But it just kind of helps fill in some of those gaps. I think, as I even said in the statement, the Switch 2 is going to sell fine. They've already sold through their pre-orders. We're getting some announcements that like GameStop's going to have a very limited amount in store on launch day that people can go in and buy. And on these first days, they're going to be gone. There's not going to be a single damn system sitting around by the end of that day. I promise you that.
And they just interviewed Doug Bowser, who said he doesn't see that they're really going to have a big scarcity.
Yeah, their reserved count is 15 million units opening day, which is more than the Switch launched with when it started. So that's already ramping up and going from there. So the system is going to be fine. I do, like, Steven, you mentioned like the breakdowns and stuff like that. I am going to be looking forward to seeing, like iFixit, where they go and break down and see, okay, here's how this opens up. Here's what they did to do. Because I'm going to be working on these just like I do for everything else. That is something I find interesting on my own, but it's not something I'm going to need the day it launches. I'm not taking my damn Switch apart the day I get it.
I need to know if there's tri-wing SKUs before I buy it.
Right.
Screws before I buy it.
Steven needs to know how much extra space there is for solder.
Exactly. I need a soldering compartment.
So stuff like that I can wait on. I was looking forward to the breakdown of finding out what kind of sticks they used. Not because I'm worried about drift and stuff, but I want to see. That kind of gives me an idea of how they're going to last, how they're going to run, but I'm still buying 2 sets of them. It's not like it's stopping me or slowing me down. And that's just knowing the equipment I'm getting. That's all. I think like some of the larger places like Kotaku and IGN and things like that are upset about it because they'd be able to just get all kinds of ad revenue from running those reviews as people see them. And I get that. That's part of their business. I can't be mad at them for doing their stuff. We want people to listen to our show that we're doing right now. We don't make money off of it. Sorry, guys. But that's the point of us doing this, is to get people to listen to it. The point of their job is to cover this stuff, get advertisements so they can be paid, things like that. I get it. That's the world. But why I brought up about the games is because that is the one that people, the first day, they'll be like, well, I have this Switch 2. What should I get for it? And I did see, like, there's different videos. I don't know if they were not in America, maybe they were the UK presentations or something, but they had Cyberpunk playable. People were showing how they could switch back and forth using the mouse and, you know, some of that stuff. But because that's when they talked about it, was the 7-week-old build at the time when it first happened at those events. But now they came out and released video that, like, holy crap, this game looks absolutely amazing. It's running beautifully. It looks really good. I'm like, that is how they need to present this. And a review could help people make the decision to do that. They could answer the questions not everybody knows about, you know, your game save carries over, or how this works, what the new features are for this version of it. I think another big one that'll be affected by that will be specifically Yakuza 0. If you're already a Yakuza fan, you might get it, but you may also look at this and go, well, I already have Yakuza. I've already played 0. Why would I play it again? Not knowing how this one works, not knowing about the multiplayer being added in, or some of the other stuff. Sometimes a review could be what points you in that direction. And without having that, because yeah, the people want that review for the hardware, but realistically they need the hardware to look at the games, which is what's important. You know, like, Nintendo should kind of get off their ass and give them at least one, because you need to be able to have that coverage, because not everybody is connected as we are. You know, I could look all day long if Nikon released a new camera, but if nobody gets to actually show how it works or take pictures with it, how am I going to know I want that version of the Nikon? Like, I don't want the current one they have that's the mirrorless, because I like a mirrored camera for how it operates, which reviews are why I didn't go with the mirrored version. You know, sometimes there is a purpose to it. So I think a lot of this is going to be growing pains. Like, they're going off the momentum of the Switch. And I'm a little worried that we're getting high horse, we're doing good Nintendo, which never bodes well for a company that was successful and then goes into something new. Look at Sony, look at Microsoft, look at Sega. They make stupid decisions because they think they can't do
past
wrong.
Nintendo.
Well, I mean, look at all of them. Like,
yeah,
Sony did great with the PS4 because they were not doing as great with the PS3. They got off their butt, did stuff. And then they went into the PS5 and just kind of kept stumbling with a lot of stuff. Like, they kept making weird choices for like how the design was and how they handled things. Microsoft did the 360 and went to the Xbox One and completely fucked that up.
It's cyclical. It always is. Like, they start off good, and then they like stumble, and then they all of a sudden they start to try to do good things, be like, oh look, we actually give a shit about you guys, and then like it's not just that we want your money, like we totally care about our customers, and then they come back around and they're actually we don't give a fuck about our customers, we just want your money, and then it comes back around. You know, it's cyclical. Like,
yeah, it's just kind of a weird one, and I'm hoping Nintendo will try and avoid it. They're not avoiding it completely. We've already seen, I think, enough that they're making some dumb decisions. So we'll see how that goes. Either way, we are 2, maybe 3 episodes away from having the Switch 2. So
it will soon be in my hands, and
yes,
I will defeat all of you in Mario Kart.
Yeah, we have 2 shows left. After the next 2 episodes, our third one will have had the Switch 2 for a couple of days. So damn, it's getting close.
The day of.
Well, that reminds me, I have sometime this week I've got to pre-order Mario Kart. So
my email did finally come in. Remy was able to order the
I
Switch.
did see your post about that. So yes.
And I ended up taking advantage of it, and I got my last amiibo, so I'm getting my damn Yunobo.
I just ended up getting the Sidon amiibo because I was like,
I'd already been able to pre-order all the other ones. He was the only one that never showed up anywhere. It was weird.
Well, I'll be able to get the other ones eventually. But I just like I don't really like I don't see the point in getting all of them right now when I could spend that money on something else.
Yeah,
So.
I don't. The only thing I was mad about is I didn't know Nintendo.com was offering the card set for Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I wanted to give. Sorry, Jeremy. I wanted to give zero money to GameStop because their online ordering is trash.
Oh yeah, it's trash.
Because I had to pay shipping, which is way too much for a card set. And,
agreed.
And two, every time I use a third-party processor like PayPal, they don't charge it and it just sits pending until it comes out, which sometimes pending authorizations after 30 days go by the wayside. And then suddenly when it finally comes out June 5th, they're going to be like, your payment's not working. And I'll be like, because you didn't collect it when I paid for it.
Yeah, a lot of places do that. Best Buy, if you order anything from them, they don't take the money until the day it comes out.
But
you don't always know.
They do if you're doing like pay in 4 or like everything from Klarna to Afterpay to Affirm to PayPal do, where it's no interest. It's just a way of paying it in 4 installments with no fees, and the company doesn't make any money off of it. They're just happy you're using their service. And Best Buy takes it all, and then it's paid off before it comes out, and it's brilliant and nice. But people like GameStop, and I'm sorry, but the Lego store too, both do it, where they're like, we're not going to take your money until it comes out. And I'm like, no, take my money now, like you're supposed to. And they're like, oh, now it's declining. Because I was like, yeah, because the authorization's old.
Yeah, GameStop, Lego store, Target, Walmart, most of the places that order from do that.
Target's
Amazon does it too.
Target's the worst, and Chase can tell you, because they will keep charging you every week for your Jigglypuff amiibo, and as soon as that amiibo gets declined, they're going to cancel your order.
Yeah, that's why if I have to order stuff, I just use a credit card. But all right, let me go ahead and close out the big question here. That was kind of a weird ending on that one. Yeah, so we'll have to see like how the Switch 2 comes out. I think it's going to be they're going to need to be able to see how all that stuff runs once the actual update is, and I'm curious about that. But all right, anyways, so for the end of the show, if you can find the podcast in audio form wherever you listen to the show, and also the video version over at YouTube at our channel Zenspath COM. Both can easily be found over at zenspath.com/podcast as well. Leave us a review if you can to help us grow. Like, share the show with others. Leave us a comment or answer the big question to let us know, what your thoughts are on this for the Switch 2 not getting previews or getting reviews on day one. You can talk to us directly over on Discord, with the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings, with the link being bit.ly/Zenspath Discord. Or once again, you can find it over at zenspath.com where it's listed there. All right. Well, this has been episode 173 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Don't steal our audio, Bungie.
Have a good weekend.
We'll put a hold on your card until the next show.